Hi, I'm Juliet from Spoilt Beads, and today I'm going to show you how to make a yoga style necklace like the one that I'm wearing now. So these yoga style necklaces are really lovely to wear. You just slip them on over your head. There's no need for a clasp. They look great in the summertime just over a simple white t-shirt. They look great in the wintertime over a jumper. As you can tell, you probably tell, I wear mine loads and loads, and these are just two of my necklaces here that I wear all the time. I've got another one in a gold colour on at the moment with the outfit I've got on today. So to make these necklaces, you are going to need some S-Lon bead cord here, and you can choose a colour that will complement the beads that you're going to be using. You'll need something to use to attach your cord to and to provide the focal point for your necklace. And you see on this lovely blue necklace here, I've got this little sterling silver patterned ring here that everything comes off and onto for this necklace, and it provides the focal point, and I've got one of those here. You can also use a bigger ring like these brushed silver plated one, or there's a pattern silver plated one here that works really well. But something that also works well is a ring from a toggle clasp, and these three here are all rings from toggle clasps, and you can see how they would work equally well in that place there, and they're a little bit more decorative as well. So if you've got a toggle clasp that you've lost the bar from, or you just got a toggle clasp that you really like and you want to make it into the focal point for your necklace, then by all means use one of those. Then you're going to need some little charms to hang from your piece, and I've got these lovely little ones here and a little jump ring, and I'm using a silver plated 7mm jump ring there, and you can see how you can just really load these up and add more and more to them, and they'll really add interest to your piece. And then you'll need a tassel if you want one, and in another video I do show you how to make these, so you can make your tassels yourselves in whatever colours you want. And then of course you're going to need your beads, and I'm going to be using 4mm fire polish beads here, and I've chosen 3 different colours and just mix them up because I'm going to be threading them randomly onto my necklace like I have done in this blue one here. But you can also use a semi-precious stone. So this one here I've used a 6mm morganite stone, and it looks great in the summertime. I've worked everything off a little Shambhala style bead here, and you'll see you'll be able to work out how to do that later on when I show you how to get started. So you don't have to start with one of these rings. You can, if you like, start with some larger beads, but I have in fact started with a jump ring, so there is a jump ring underneath there somewhere. And then you're going to need some tools. So you're going to need some tweezers to knot your beads with, and that's how you get your knots nice and tight up against the beads. You're going to need some Hypo cement glue, which you'll use to secure the end of your necklace when you've finished it. And you'll also need some of this, which is brilliant stuff. We've just discovered this here at Spoilt Beads, thanks to Vivian, who brought it to our attention. It's called Fray Block, and it is brilliant stuff because what it does is it turns the end of your S-Lon bead cord into a needle. So it makes it nice and stiff, so it makes it really quick and easy to thread your beads. If you do a lot of kumihimo, you'll know that as you start threading your S-Lon bead cord through your beads, it does begin to fray, and you have to keep trimming the ends of it off, and it slows you right down. It's a bit frustrating, but this stuff takes all of that away. It's brilliant stuff. It just stiffens the ends and really just turns the thread into a needle, so it makes things a lot quicker. So I'm going to recommend that you use some of this today. The other thing you're going to need is just 2 pairs of chain nose pliers, and you'll need those right at the end in order to open and close your jump ring to attach your charm and your lovely little tassel onto the end of your piece when you are finished. So to begin with, all you're going to need is your Fray Block, your S-Lon bead cord, some scissors and your link. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure off around about 2 meters of this. It's better to have a little bit too much than too little, because it's nothing more frustrating than getting to the end of your necklace and realizing you've run out of thread, because this project you can't actually join the thread on. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my scissors and I am going to trim the end of my thread at an angle so that I create a little bit of a point to the end of my thread. I'm not sure if the camera's got that there, if you can see. So I've just trimmed that end, and I'm going to do the same with the other end, then just trim it at an angle, because then you create a little point and it just makes your threading of your beads a little bit easier. And this is where the Fray Block comes in. What I'm going to do is open my tube of Fray Block and take the ends of my thread, and I'm just going to dip them in that Fray Block there. You'll see they'll come out, they'll be ever so slightly darker. This doesn't thicken the end of your threads at all, it simply stiffens them, so they'll still go through the beads, no problem at all. So I'm going to do the other end, and it takes around 10-15 minutes to dry enough to start using. And there we go. I'll pop my Fray Block on there, and I'm just going to pop that to one side and leave that to dry. And it'll take around about 10 minutes to be dry, 10-15 minutes to be dry enough to use, and then I'm going to show you how to get started once that's dry. So my Fray Block is dry now on my piece, and I've taken my S-Lon bead cord and I have literally just folded it in half. So this point here is the center of my cord. So I've got my center of my cord there, and what I'm going to do is thread that loop through my link and then pull the ends of the thread back through it. Like that there. It's called a lark's head knot, and I pull that nice and tight, and that's how you start these necklaces off there. So that's my thread now attached to my link, and what I'm going to do now is take one end of my thread, and you see it's nice and stiff now, so it will thread through the beads really easily. It does make it so much quicker using the Fray Block, and I am going to thread on a bead. Take that down to my link there, and I'm ready for my first knot. And to tie these knots, we're going to just be tying regular, what I call granny knots, but we're going to be using a pair of knotting tweezers to get that knot really close up against the bead. So to begin with, you just need to make a loop. So I've just taken my thread and folded it over just to create a loop, and then I can take the tail of the thread through that loop, and you can see that if I pull that loop tight now, it's going to form a knot there, but I want this knot to be really close to this bead here. So this is where the tweezers come in. You take the tweezers and you go through that loop that you just created. So I'm literally just going through that loop, and I'm going to grip my cord there right hard up against that last bead. And then if I take my other hand and I pull that loop now, it will tighten it up, take it down the tweezers towards the pearls there. There we go. And at this stage I can slip my tweezers out, and then I'm going to use my tweezers to slide that knot down hard up against the bead. And when I do this, this is really key, this sliding motion to push that bead, that knot down against the bead. You need to do it in one nice smooth movement. And if you look at my tweezers, you'll see I'm using the tweezers around about just over a centimetre from the end of the tweezer. And I'm doing that because if I turn the tweezers on the side, you'll see that at this point they don't quite close properly, and that's the point you want to be using, because you're using that open part of the tweezer to slide your thread through to tighten up that knot. If you try and use the end of the tweezer right here where it closes properly, you won't be able to put it through, it won't go, and all you'll end up doing is damaging and fraying your cord. So it's important to use that open part of the tweezer just to slide that knot down up against the bead there. So I'm going to take another bead and do that again, and I'm just picking up the beads as they come and doing this completely randomly. There's no pattern that I'm following. I always think it looks better if you do that. Threaded on my bead, and I'm ready for my next knot. So I am going to make a loop like so, pass the end of my thread through that loop. You see, if I pulled that now, I'd have a knot there. I want the knot to be hard up against that bead, so I'm going to go through the loop with my tweezers and grip the thread just right up against that last bead there, and then pull that tight. There we go. And at this stage I can take the tweezers out and then just use that sliding motion just to push that knot down hard up against the last bead. And it's as simple as that. You just keep doing that until your necklace is the right length. Remember to alternate though and do the other side too. So I'm going to put one more bead on this side, and then I'm going to do 3 beads on the other side, because you'll want to build this necklace up from both sides there. So there we go, tighten that up and slide it down. And what I can do now is just work on the other side for a little bit. So take my other side and thread a bead on. There we go. Make a loop and pass the tail through the loop, and use your tweezers to grip nice and tight up against the bead before you pull that knot down with the tweezers like so, and then use that nice sliding motion just to tighten that knot up. You want to keep going, keep adding the beads. To make a necklace like this, I tend to make them around about between 75 and 80 centimeters long in total, and they just slip nicely over your head then and sort of fall to sort of mid-waist level. So just remember to keep the two sides of the necklace even, and do whatever you've done on one side, do on the other side, but don't worry about following a pattern. So don't worry about mirroring the colours on both sides. You do want it just to be random as you do this. So this is the kind of project you can have on your coffee table and just come back to a little bit at a time. Just do a few knots every once in a while and you'll find it will build quite quickly, really. The technique I'm using is exactly the same technique that we use for knotting pearls here at Spoilt and Beads. You can see it's really easy to do once you get the hang of it. So I'm going to keep on knotting, keep on adding my beads, and I'm going to come back to you and show you how to finish off in just a moment. So I've been knotting for a little while now. My necklace is around about 75 centimeters long, and I've threaded on my last two beads onto each end of my necklace, and I've just left them loose now without any knots there, because what I need to do is just take these two ends of thread here and just knot them together to join the necklace together at the top here. I'm pulling it like so. Before I pull that tight, I'm just going to turn it into a double knot just by going through one more time and just making sure that that knot sits between the two beads there. I'm going to pull it nice and tight. There we go. When you're happy it's nice and secure, you can then use your Hypo cement glue to finish off that last knot there, and you just want to make sure that you get that glue all through the knot so that it's nice and secure, because that's basically the weakest point of your necklace and you want to make sure it lasts a nice long time. So I've really soaked that knot in the glue there, and I shall give it about sort of 15 minutes or so to dry before I trim off my ends of thread. And when you're done there, you can then go back to the link on your necklace, and you can just use your jump rings to attach your clasps and your charms and your tassels, and you can see how you can really have fun with these, loading them all up and make one to go with every outfit. They're really good fun to make. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Please let us know what you think in the comments below and come back soon. Bye.